McElhaney. He is the defensive line coach at Saint Vincent College. To kick things off, Coach, can you just share with the audience a little bit about your background and how you've ultimately gotten involved in your current role?
No, absolutely. So like we were just talking about, I was born and raised in the Pittsburgh area, so football's important to us. Had the opportunity when I went to college. I went to Slippery Rock University. I had the opportunity to work for Sean Lutz at Slippery Rock as an undergrad assistant, and just having the opportunity early to get around really good coaches and better men uh, kind of guided me into where I'm at today and who I am as a man and in coaching. So getting around guys early, like I said, Coach Lutz, Coach Conrad, Coach Neugebauer, Coach Roper, guys like that really kind of shaped me into the early aspects of my coaching career. From Slippery Rock, I actually got to come to Saint Vincent College for a year during the COVID fall. So to really start seeing how coaching worked then under Coach McElhaney here at Saint Vincent. From there, I had an opportunity to go down to Valdosta. I worked at Valdosta for 2 years. 2022 is really where I became who I am now. I got to work for some great coaches in Coach Tremaine Jackson down there. I know you had Coach early on the podcast.
Yeah.
A bit ago, we were talking. He got all excited because he said he was going to get name dropped again. So, but great guys like that, where I got to really learn X's and O's a little bit more than I had. So getting to be around good coaches, getting to learn the X's and O's aspect, from Coach Jackson, from Coach Anderson, who's one of the smartest defensive coordinators you're going to find in America, and Coach Early, giving me some opportunities to work on special teams, learn special teams. I know one of the things he said on your podcast was once you learn teams, you're going to have opportunities.
Oh yeah.
So giving me the opportunity to learn special teams and get involved in that, and just fine tune the craft of coaching. And then from there, I had the opportunity to come back up home, and I got to come back up to St. Vincent, work for Coach McElhaney again, who's one of the most genuine guys in coaching. I love every day that I get to work for him. So that's kind of my background.
Nice. So, and you're not too deep into your career. Like what year is this so far?
This will be official year 4. Um,
Okay.
but um, but if you count the 4 years I was working in college, we're up in the 8 or 9 year range. So it depends on who you ask.
Yeah,
But it's been fun getting started.
definitely. And for a lot of the guys that I talk on here, they've been in the profession for 20, 30 years. So
Right.
it seems like you have like a newer perspective coming out from, college more recently.
For sure.
So can you talk about being a younger coach and some of the like the benefits that you have maybe with like relating to players a little bit better?
Absolutely. I think there's a benefit if you allow there to be a benefit, right? I think as a younger coach, you can sometimes, especially as an undergrad assistant, right? I had to be a coach, but during the day, I'm going to class with our guys,
Yeah.
right? So there comes a fine line of just how professional are you. So having a sense of professionalism and getting those guys to view you as a coach, I appreciate those guys at Slippery Rock because walking into class, they're not calling me Rob, it's Coach,
Right.
and so I don't want to pat myself too much. I think our guys had an immense amount of maturity, but there it comes with that too. As a coach, you have to have that maturity about you, being young, and evolving, and how do you lead guys into calling you coach, because just as easily they could have called me Rob or whatever else they wanted to, right? But so it's finding that maturity, finding that professionalism early, and it's a credit to the coaches that I was around.
Definitely. So what would be some like key lessons that you learned maybe in your first year or second year as an official coach, in these last 4 years that have served you well in years three and going into year four now?
Sure. The biggest lesson I think I had to learn was you don't know what you don't know. I think it is a masculine pride thing. Whatever the subject is, we want to say that we know it, especially when it comes to football, when it's something we've done and been a part of. But I think the biggest lesson I had to learn was you don't know what you don't know, and it's okay to ask.
Right.
So, and again, talking about guys like Coach Jackson, Coach Anderson, Coach Early, those guys that we're going to do this, and Coach Early was probably one of the more entertaining ones to do it with, because he has an old school way about it. I like to think I've picked up on that, but getting to be around guys that don't mind you asking why are we doing this. So it's not just a hey, I'm going to tell you to do this and get it done. That's the expectation. It's going to get done, and we all know that. But asking why and seeing okay, and starting to piece things together. And the other big lesson I learned too, you can't be a copycat of somebody, right? You can find aspects of coaches you've been around that you like, but you can't be them, right? So be yourself, be authentic, because players are gonna pick up when you're not being you,
Right.
and it's gonna affect you. It's gonna affect you as a coach. It's gonna affect them as players, which ultimately is gonna affect production and overall success. So finding a way to combine what you like, steer away from what you don't like, and just be the authentic you.
Yeah. And it's funny you brought up just knowing all the pieces around you and going
Mhm.
back to what you were saying about, being a special teams coach.
Yeah.
So I recently spoke with somebody named Matt Quattrone. He's a offense coordinator at Franklin Marshall College in Lancaster.
Mhm.
And he was just talking about the fact that as a younger coach, he's only 28, 29, and he stepped into a coordinator role, and he was a defensive guy in college, and then actually got hired as a D line coach and a DB coach, and he made that transition to offense, and he said, obviously there was some trials and some,
Yeah.
it was tough to do that and make that change, but at the same time, that just made him like a significantly better coach, just because now he knows not only offense, but he has that defensive background, so he has more a holistic background at this point.
100%. I started at Slippery Rock. I spent 4 years on the offense side of the ball, right? So and seeing that, and I completely agree with that. I don't think I'd have the understanding what we want to do defensively if I didn't understand what offenses are trying to do. So that's a huge lesson too. You know, everybody talks about. I don't know if everybody picks up, but they should. Is spend some time with the other side of the ball and figure out what offense. If you're a defensive coach, figure out what offenses are trying to do. If you're if you're an offensive coach, figure out what defenses are trying to do. Uh, it's just going to make you that much better of a coach. And to me, it's slowed the game down. The one thing that I think we did really well. We talked a little bit about what we did defensively before we started recording. We slowed the game down, which is easy to do up in the Northeast. It's a slower game, but it makes it easy once you know what's happening and you can slow it down and get it to your players.
For sure. And I think one of the other things too that I was talking about with a coach on the podcast a few days ago was just kind of what you were saying earlier, just realizing that you're not going to know everything, and it's okay not to, like, as you first step in, it's okay to ask those questions, and like you were saying, ask those why questions. Um so going back to even further, like when you were just getting started as a student coach, what advice would you give yourself that we haven't talked about so far?
Calm down. I think calm down. I'm a rather anxious person. I like everything's kind of going fast in my head. So calm down a little bit and don't be afraid to ask the why questions early. Because we talked about, I had those 4 years, and for most of it, I just kind of took things for granted that, well, that's just how things work.
Yeah.
Um, don't be afraid to ask the whys early on, because if I could have asked the whys at 19 or 20 when I was starting versus 24, 25, that's 4 years of development that, I didn't ask the whys earlier, and I'm sitting back on it now. So don't be afraid to ask the whys, and find ways to be invaluable, right? Find ways where people need you, right? People need you around. So whether it's, equipment, the best thing that kind of got me going early at Slippery Rock was I learned how to film well,
Mhm.
and not just filming it, but going in to the coach's office and talking about, well, how does the film look? Why do you need the film to look this way? That's about the only why I ask. But it gets you that into, into a coach's office, and then into a position room, and now you're working in drills, and now you're, getting some freedom to do some things. So find ways to be around the organization, get involved, and be there, and be there. The one thing I had the opportunity to do at Slippery Rock was be there,
Yeah,
and be in the offices and be around. So, um, find ways to get around the coaches, as much as you can, and see how they work, and ask the whys.
definitely. And that actually reminded me of a book that I started reading, Be Useful by Arnold
Yep,
Schwarzenegger. And it just talks about like finding purpose and serving others, and that's exactly what you were talking about. So
100%.
definitely agree with that sentiment.
Exactly. It's just coming to the sense of kind of know your role. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a WWE guy, so The Rock has his know your role and shut your mouth thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
um I'm not recommending that. Actually, don't ask the questions, but know your role, and know who you're, like you said, know who you're serving.
Yep.
Know whose life you have to make easier, and do that.
Right.
So
Definitely. Any last words, coach, you want to share with the audience today?
no, that's about it, Justin. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate you having me on, the opportunity to get to talk a little bit about the greatest profession in the world.
Yes, sir. All right, coach. Thank you again for sharing. And, best of luck as you're getting into recruiting and the off season here. And thanks again.
Appreciate you, Justin. Thank you.